Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, September 8th, 2021, and we're going to get started with our pre-market analysis on the S&P 500 futures market. So let's go ahead and jump up to our ultra-high time frames here and take a look at what they're saying this morning. I don't think anything has really significantly changed, especially on these ultra-high time frames up here. So we go to our quarterly, we go to our monthly, same story we've been talking about for quite a long time. Very strong and no signs of exhaustion, and same situation on the weekly chart. Now on this weekly chart, we don't want to say too much about the current candle. You guys hear me say this every day, but we can make a little bit of an argument here that we do have off the current low of this week's candle. We do have what could make an argument for a bullish divergence. Now, we do not want to read into that. We have a lot of, let's see, we have all day today, we have all day Thursday, all day Friday, in order for this to come together here. And let's see. Back on September 3rd, we had this high, we put an all-time high in the market, and we got this bearish divergence off the high. Ever since that indication, we've basically stayed below the all-time high there, going into, I believe that was Friday, going into Monday's market there, which was essentially a closed day for the market, and then going into yesterday, and now here that brings us into today's candle. So pretty decent bearish divergence there. I got completely thrown off with the holiday on Monday, and then I had an event last night. Completely thrown off with the date there. But yeah, so that's a pretty good bearish divergence off the high right there. And currently nothing else really to be said. The candle that we're looking at for today has a lot more time to develop, so really can't say too much about that. And so right now we just have that bearish divergence off of the all-time high back on September 3rd. And again, just want to emphasize here that when you get these daily divergences, yeah, sometimes they don't actually follow through. So it either becomes a false signal, or you have a situation like back here on the end of August there, where we came up, we got a bearish divergence on the 24th here, but then the market continued to follow through, and then you got a second one. But when you got that second one, you did get a pretty nice, healthy little pullback right there. My point is that when you have these daily divergences, a lot of times, if they do follow through, you can get a pretty significant move in the market. And so this was a high right about, let's just call it 45, 47, and the market has now pulled back to below 4,500. So just about a 50-point pullback from that bearish daily divergence there. So let's go down to our 4-hour. And on the 4-hour, same thing, agreement with the bearish signals off the top end of the chart. We did get somewhat of a bullish divergence, or at least an argument for a bullish divergence off the previous daily low. And we got a bounce out of that low for just over 10, maybe 15 points there. And then went ahead and are continuing to sell off, broke right through that bullish divergence. So that's no longer valid there. I guess you could make an argument that this does carry through to this next low, but I don't like those type of setups, so I'm going to kind of ignore that for now. And this 4-hour really only has the clear bearish divergence off the previous those previous highs we made, and then we had the one bullish divergence that's now negated now that the market has broken down below that. Now, huge wick on this previous 4-hour candle here. You can see that more than 50% of this candle, in fact, almost 75% of it is just a wick to the downside. So many would argue that is somewhat of a bullish looking candle there, assuming that we do stay above the low of that candle and go ahead and continue to push and break the high of it. So we'll go ahead, we'll see what happens this morning and jump down to our 60-minute, see what that chart is telling us here. Same bullish bearish divergence off of the September 3rd all-time high. So you can see pretty much all the high time frames had the bearish signal that morning, and from there we have got this 50-point pullback so far. Now in the local region, don't see any type of bullish divergence off this overnight low. I do see a bearish signal right now off of the high that we made just about an hour ago, right around 21.50 there. So we do have that bearish signal from this most recent high that we made in the market, and no bullish indication off the overnight low. So if we kind of zoom back here and take a look, the daily really does not have any strong bullish indication so far. The 4-hour, besides that very kind of very big wick on the previous candle, we do not have any divergent signals that I would like to hang my hat on here. So still basically the most recent bullish divergence got broken, and then on the 60-minute, no indications of a bullish divergence either off of the overnight low. So you can see that so far, just going off of signals, I would expect the market to make a lower low before it gets any type of larger bounce out of this region that we're in right now. So we're just gonna have to see here. Let's go down to our intermediate time frames and take a look, and we'll go to our 30-minute. And 30-minute, you could make the argument for a little bullish divergence off the overnight low there. We did not have any indication like that on the hourly, and arguably on the 4-hour either. So we're starting to see it on these shorter time frames, but not on the higher time frames there. We do have agreement with that bearish signal from the most recent high that we made up at 45.2150. And go to the 10-minute just to see if we have agreement, and we have agreement. Pretty nice bullish divergence off the overnight low, agreeing with the 30-minute, and the bearish signal agreeing with the 30 and the 60-minute off of that high. So I think this morning what we can argue is that we do not have enough bullish indications off of the low that we made overnight. So the overnight low this morning happens to be 44.97, and we only really see on the shorter time frames the bullish indication. So that tells me, again, just going by signals, that we could potentially push down to a lower low, or maybe come down and test that low at 44.97. And then if we then get a bullish divergence off of that newer low, maybe we'll get a larger bounce out of that area. Now there was kind of an interesting thing here that I skipped over on the 30-minute. This is again just somewhat of a interesting observation here. Yesterday, if we just kind of zoom back to where we were before the market opened, we were looking at this leg right here. And so we had the high from the previous day, which was up there at, let's see, what's the actual number? 45.48. And then we had this low kind of coming into the open yesterday, right there around 45.29. If you look at the extensions here of that leg, the 100% extension is 45.1050. And hopefully for some of you that sounds familiar there, because if we zoom forward, here's the, let's get to the open. So the open, you can see we had this pretty good, nice sell-off, which was our bias coming into the open yesterday, expecting a lower low. I believe we said that 29.25 was definitely not low enough. And then right around the open, we went ahead and broke right through there. Well, look what happened. The market ended up coming down and bouncing to the tick off 45.1050. So that was the low of the day from yesterday's market, and that's now our green line on the chart, as you can see. So just kind of interesting to note that also, that we did come up, we bounced off that low for this specific leg here, came up, essentially tested 50% of that leg, and then went ahead and had the sell-off right to the 100% extension. So just a kind of interesting observation there. And right now, off the current leg, we do have this bounce off the 38% retracement. So the market went ahead. Let's go ahead and zoom this up here. Pulled back here, bounced almost exactly off the 38% retracement. We did get some decent setups here on the shorter time frames. So you can see on the 1 minute here, the 3 minute on the left. I believe this, can't see it on the 10 minute, but on our short time frames, the 3 minute, the 1 minute, and the tick chart over here, you can see a really nice bullish divergence right off the 200 moving average, right essentially off the VWAP, and right off our interesting level or important level here at 45.1250, which again was a 38% retracement of that whole leg. So pretty decent little bounce there a little bit earlier. Didn't really follow through for very much. So just to kind of sum everything up for you guys, going to the ultra high time frames, we don't really have indications of exhaustion in the move. However, as we dial down to our shorter time frames, we get to the daily and then start getting below the daily into our 4 hour and our hourly. We don't really have a lot of bullish signals here off of the overnight low. So what I would expect is a potential push to at least come down and retest that level, if not come down a little bit lower. One other cool thing to note here is that when we came down and bounced at 1050, if we just zoom back all the way to the end of August, the high from August 25th happened to be, let's see, 44.98, and the market bounced at 44.97 just in front of that level there. So is that coincidence? I don't know, but the last time we were up here was 44.98. We essentially pulled back from that level, pushed through, never really came back to cleanly test it until the overnight here this morning. So I will leave it at that and hope that gives you guys a little bit of a bias coming into the open.